What's going on, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 86. And today we are looking at Silver Sable part 1, folks. And we see that Spider-Man is going to be going up against a pretty unique villain today, and that is Omega Red. This is the first time Omega Red is appearing in the Spider-Man comic book series here. And so that's going to be pretty cool to look at here. Will Spider-Man have a little bit of trouble taking down this villain? We'll find all this out as we continue to look at this great series. If you haven't looked at this series so far, or you've gotten behind, towards the end of this video, there'll be a playlist that'll pop up that you can click on, or you can click out of this video right now and go and watch those videos as well. But anyway, folks, let's go ahead and get started with today's issue. We see that 1 month ago we had Damage Control come, and they're the ones that are responsible for cleaning up the city whenever there is an attack on New York City. I mean, we got to have somebody to clean up the mess whenever the heroes make a lot of damage, because you'll never see heroes get into a fight and they don't do some kind of damage in the city. And so what we have here is we have former villains who are now working for the Damage Control, rather. We have Wrecker, Pile Driver, people that used to be super villains are now working for this company here. And so they've been alerted here. And we're also going to be introduced here in this issue to Roxxon. That's a very important name to remember, folks, because that name will be popping up in the next few issues. And so we see here that, yes, Jermaine Exum, he's the guy right here. He's the one that contacted Damage Control here, and they're going to be pretty much picking up all the pieces and, helping New York City out. And so they want to know exactly what happened. Well, we see here that this guy, Jermaine, he works for Roxxon, and there was a huge explosion that took place right in the middle of New York City. I mean, if Marvel superheroes actually existed, I would never live in New York because there's all kinds of explosions and threats. It's going to be kind of risky if you ever lived in New York City, especially if superheroes existed. And one of those villains that people have to be afraid of is Omega Red here. Now, Omega Red, if you don't know anything about Omega Red, he's this mutant hunter. He goes and hunts mutants and tries to kill them. And so that's exactly what we see here. He also has a disdain for humans as well. And so Omega Red here has been sent by somebody. We don't know exactly who. But what we see here is that he's going to be confronted by a web line, and it just so happens to be Spider-Man here saying, "The Love Boat, exciting and new. Everybody now." And so Spider-Man, of course, coming up with his jokes here. And Omega Red, this is the first time he's fought Spider-Man here. He says, "Can't believe I got sideswiped like that." And Spider-Man says, "You can't believe it? I almost wore that exact same outfit today. Boy, would that have been embarrassing." And then Omega Red says, "Spider-Man, for real? Thought you'd be taller." That's pretty funny here. And he says, "What are you, 12? He says, "What are you, president of the Dr. Octopus fan club?" And he's thrown way up in the air here. And so now Omega Red gets back to business here, where he's trying to threaten the life of Jermaine here, when Spider-Man swings back down, and he's going to then use his webbing here to save himself. And with these web lines, he's then going to save Jermaine and the rest of these guys. And we see that Omega Red, he needs to turn around, but he's not. And he says, "Call me a sicko, but I love that you idiots don't even know what you're dying for." And Jermaine's like, I don't understand." He says, "I know. That's what I'm saying." And then Spider-Man's like, this is going to completely hurt. And he dives right into the back of Omega Red. Omega Red is sent careening, and he lands into this big truck here. He said, "That kid, it is a kid. It's just a little. Pillsbury Doughboy, I'd ask you what you're doing here, but honestly, I don't think I care." And he throws this humongous truck right on top of Omega Red. And then he's like, oof, anyone got any Advil? And so we see that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be contacted here, and Omega Red is going to be in S.H.I.E.L.D. custody. And so that is what happened and just prior to all this happening, where Doom Control are here to pick up the pieces. And so what we see here is that while Germain is telling the people here about what happened, we have a spy here, and this spy here, she is picking up all this information, and she says, "You see what the Hulk did downtown? I heard that it was a hoax." "What?" "I heard it." Excuse me. And then she says, "Sir, yes, Spider-Man, that's confirmed." "Spider-Man?" "Yes, sir, Mr. Roxxon." So here we are, we're introduced to Mr. Roxxon here, and we see that Mr. Roxxon has some interest in Spider-Man when he says, "This is the second time in a month that this Spider-Man person stopped an attack on my company, Spider-Man, and this other one." According to those who would know, Omega Red is in S.H.I.E.L.D. custody. All I know about him is he's a work-for-hire albino, mutant Russian that volunteered himself for some guinea pig crap when he was in prison. He's kind of new in the freelance world. Kind of new. He blew up an entire cargo ship and a dog with it. I want to know why. And so they're going to be hunting Spider-Man to figure out exactly what Spider-Man knows. And this is that woman that's been talking, that is Silver Sable. So she makes her first appearance here. And so 2 weeks ago, we see that people who work for Silver Sable are going to be out on the hunt looking for Spider-Man. We have Chin here, he's an agent. And we see here, I believe that these people, including Silver Sable, work for Roxxon. And so they're looking and they're talking about how crazy this is, and if they wanted to see Spider-Man, they could just see the movie. And Silver Sable's like, "You guys need to focus, okay?" But then we see this one guy here. He notices that he sees Spider-Man swinging in the air, and he says, "Silver, I have him." He said, "You have him?" Confirmed. He's heading towards the Queensboro. Wild Pack move. He's headed towards Queens. That's you, Quintino. So Quintino here is going to follow him in this plane as well. And Spider-Man has no idea that there's this plane following him. You would think that his spider sense would alert him, but I guess not. So they're following him when all of a sudden, while they're following him, he disappears. He went into an alleyway here, and they say that they lost him. Well, it just so happens to, as we see here, that Spider-Man was taking off his outfit and he's back to Peter Parker now. But they don't know who the identity of Spider-Man is. So 1 week ago, we see that they noticed Spider-Man swinging in the air. And they're like, where's his location at? Where'd he come from? They're looking in the binoculars. They notice teenagers here. That just so happens to be Mary Jane and Liz Allen. And he notices here that Spider-Man was seen swinging away from Midtown High School. So now they're starting to draw some conclusions here that Spider-Man must work as a teacher at Midtown High School, or he's a student. They think he's a teacher, but maybe he's a student as well. And so they notice once again he is leaving the premises here at Midtown High School. Spider-Man here is going to disappear into the alleyway. And so they land the plane. We have these agents now working for Silver Sable. They're going to use their taser guns. And they hit this one guy with the taser. They think they've got him here. Have they gotten Peter Parker? That's the big thing we have to worry about. So he's brought back to base with Silver Sable. We see that this guy's wearing a yellow jacket. And he said, here's his wallet, Sable. We should videotape him and sell it. You know how much the tape would be worth. It's not the gig, Powell. He says, we essentially kidnapped someone, and you want to tape it and hand it to the media? Look at that, boss. He's 16. So, uh-oh. Do they have Peter Parker? He said, wow, he's 16? Spider-Man is 16? Oh, man, we got to tape this. I wish we would have got his costume. You didn't get his costume? He said, let's wake him up. So they wake him up here, and then Silver Sable says, good morning, Spider-Man. Well, we notice that this is not Peter Parker. This is, in fact, Flash Thompson, folks. They've gotten the wrong man. And so they're like, you're not an easy man to track down. Well, what did you call me? Yes. In the grueling process of locating you, we did sort of kind of unmask you. Sorry about that. I know you were trying to hide it for your own reasons. I respect that, but who are you? And so Silver Sable's like, you're not in trouble. And then Flash is like, Spider-Man, I'm not Spider-Man. My name is Flash Thompson. I go to high school. And he starts to freak out here. He says, is this a joke? Are you pranking me? I'm not Spider-Man. What? Is this going to be on MTV? And Flash Thompson says, I go to high school. And he starts to cry. And Silver Sable's like, stand him up. So they break the rope. And this is hilarious. He said, I really don't understand. And she kicks him square in the jaw. And he lands on his back. And we end the issue here with Silver Sable saying, that is not Spider-Man. So they're still on the hunt for Spider-Man. They got the wrong guy, apparently. And yes, we know that they got the wrong guy. So we'll be looking at issue number 87 coming up next with part 2 here with Silver Sable. Will they be successful next time in tracking down the real Spider-Man? That's the big question here that we got to wonder. And so do me a favor right now, before we look at issue number 87, drop a like on this video. That'd be much appreciated. Comment down below what you think is going to happen next. And as always, if you have not subscribed, subscribe. That'll help my channel out so much. And I will see y'all in the next one.